We are gathered here today to get through this thing called
life.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome to this thing called Land with My Sister. And today it is just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
Just the two of us.
You and I.
That right there. That right there. We're back at the beginning of things. Today was very intentional because, for one, we have a phenomenal show coming up this Friday, which we'll hit more about before we close out. But today we actually want to discuss with you all the things that we probably all need to know and understand about this election. Yeah. And it's so funny, like I said earlier today, comment was made on a post by someone that kind of just confirmed that this is the direction we need to go for today. So, where do we begin?
Get out and vote.
Yeah.
I think that's one place to begin, but I think another place that we should begin. I know not everybody who watches and listens to us is in the Indianapolis area, but I am just going to share because I'm also going to share this on our page.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to share a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to share is actually the voting locations. There are 5 central voting locations around the city of Indianapolis. And then, of course, you can always go to the city county building where the actual the voters board is. But I think because, we're trying to do this in the time of an unprecedented time, as far as voting and everything. And we're trying to just keep everybody safe, but also, let's see how underhanded and how much stuff we can get away with. So, yeah, I know, sissy. In Indianapolis, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to list these 5 places, but then again, I'm also going to post it on our actual, this thing called Life page. So in Indianapolis, here are your 5 locations, in addition to downtown. Early voting starts October 24th. Keep that in mind as well. The hours of operation on the weekdays is 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Some locations are open on the weekends. I don't know which ones, but some of them are open on the weekends, and you may want to call ahead because you never know what kind of fun stuff you're going to run into. But the 5 locations that are here in Indy, other than going downtown: Granite Park Community Center at 605 South High School Road. The zip code for that is 46241. So that's over on the southwest side.
Okay.
Well, more so the west side, because 46241. I had to think about zip code. So that's actually just over on the west side. Lawrence Township Education and Community Center, 6501 Sunnyside Road. And the zip for that is 46236. Perry Township. So Lawrence is on the east side. Perry Township, so now we're going south, is the Perry Township Government Center is 4925 Shelby Street, Indianapolis, and that is 46227. St. Luke's United Methodist Church, so that's for those of us in Washington Township. That is at 100 West 86th Street. It's a huge church. You can't miss it. It's I think one of the biggest churches, if not the biggest church, on 86th Street. So it's right there on 86th between Spring Mill and Meridian, so right there on 86th. The address for that is 100 West 86th Street, Indianapolis 46260. The fifth center is also on the east side, but it's more of the southeast, and that is Warren Township. And so this is the Warren Township Government Center. It is 501 North Post Road. So I think that's right around like Post in Washington. So 501 North Post Road, and the zip code out there is 46219. Now, again, this is also in addition to, going to the actual city county building. Because again, we're living in unprecedented times. There's a lot of foolery going on, which we're gonna talk about that here in just a second too. There's a lot of shenanigans going on, but
nationwide.
But we're going to pull it through. So, and then one thing is, it's kind of a fun thing, but I just I'm going to also share it on our page. If I didn't already, I'm going to share it again. I have an uncle who is 86 years old. 86 years old. He's an uncle with some greats in front of it. It's a older.
She said with some greats in front of it.
Got some greats on it, And he says he actually wrote a poem. And the point of his poem was, of course, to get people to get out and vote. But his poem is called He.
You put that up once.
I put it up, and I intentionally didn't say much about it because I wanted people to be like, what is this?
We need to,
but I need you, and I need you to really listen to it. And the thing about it is, at some point during this week, I'm also going to get back on here, and I'm going to we're going to post him reading the poem. But I'm also going to read it because it was one of those where he was like, I need people to add their own spin to it, add their own, their own alliterations to it. But the point is, I need people to get out and vote. So,
yeah, because I love, now the thing about that piece I loved was he was so subtle with the jabs. Yes. And that's all I'm going to say. He was very, very subtle. You're like, hold
say
up.
What?
It's like he's gone on to the next
section, and you're just like,
and it's like, hold up, he just
what? Oh, yeah. So shout out to my uncle Wesley Carey.
Yes,
he, like I said, the poem is actually absolutely phenomenal. Like, it blew me away when he called me, and he was just like, okay, so I wrote this poem, and I need you to come over and put it in my computer. And I'm like, what do you mean put it in your computer? Because again, when we do things, especially now when we create, and I mean, unless we're actually like drawing something, when we create on the computer. And so for him to say, he needed me to come and put it in his computer, I'm like, what you mean? Put it in your computer? Why isn't it already
and so
in
you
your
gotta
computer?
keep in mind, for that generation, their terminology for stuff is
honey, he still
different.
had a typewriter.
I said the terminology is a little bit
He
different.
had typed it out like it was beautiful, but he had typed it out. And I'm like, didn't you do this on the computer? He was like, no, I did it on my typewriter. And I'm like,
but it works the same way.
It sure does. But, we ain't going to get into all of that.
But you just don't have to roll the paper in and push push the wheel back.
So I'm going to repost it on our page, and then I'm actually going to read through it at some point in time. This week and probably over the next few weeks, because I need you all to understand. I need you all to get the vibe of the poem. But most importantly, we need to encourage everyone to get out and vote. Listen, we're going to have a talk about the great big he.
The he.
Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now.
Right. So. And good afternoon, Beatrice. Some of you, thank you for listening from Texas.
She says we're looking beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Annette. And you are so right. Vote. Plain and simple. Hands down. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. She says she loves your head wrap. You don't even understand the head wrap game in this house. Like the scarves, like we have huge totes and bags and drawers of scarves. And I'll be the first one to grab something and be like, D, here, tie my hair. And it's not all her, because Kay has hers. I have mine. The princess, we actually were in there and we were helping her like pull some stuff out. She actually has probably damn near as many as you do.
I doubt it because I've got that.
Well, yeah, then you got that.
Got like
you got stuff
for real. Like the biggest bin you'll find at Walmart, the deepest bin you'll find.
Okay, never mind, because hers is not quite that big.
Yeah, no.
But she has a big bin.
Yeah.
She has a big bin like that, but not quite
that big. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But thank you. You see, I'm repping the breast cancer. For mine is pink, but I am repping it today in special memory of not just my mother, but also my aunt, my mom's sister, that transitioned earlier this year. So today was that day that I was kind of thinking about the two of them. And, when the memory popped up, because we were doing the show on male breast cancer.
Yes.
So, I thought about them and I was like, I'm just going to symbolically represent them today. So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. But I wanted to, as far as just kicking it on off, because like you said, it's just, this is one of those deals where there's no way to just kind of ease into it. You just have to
rip the Band-Aid off.
Yep, just hit it head first. And you want to go ahead and just start with you want to go ahead and, well, I'll tell you what, let's start. I'm going to start with some information about the absentee and mail voting policies that are in effect. And for a lot of states, they have expanded the, reasons why you can vote. For some states, it is for, they've included COVID-19. For some states, you don't have to have a reason at all. For some, you have to actually be sick. And then for some, they don't have exceptions at all. So, and then for some, you can vote, and you don't have to have like I say, you don't have to have an excuse at all. For some, you actually have to be COVID positive or in quarantine in order to actually, and I'm looking at this right now on www.ncsl.org. And it's talking specifically right now, what I'm looking at, it's talking specifically about absentee and mail voting policies. So, and it tells you, okay, like we've got, for us here in Indiana, let me flip it this way so I can actually see everything. It also talks about when they actually start to count the votes. For some, they don't actually start counting until election day, which are the states that tend to take the longest amount to come in. But like for some, they'll start counting their mail-in ballots like 7 days before, 14 days before.
Colorado does upon receipt.
Right. And, you've got several of those, like DC, signatures have to be verified and all of that kind of stuff on the envelopes before, to make sure there's no tampering. So there are again, that website is
NCSL.org.
Yeah. But since we've got Illinois on here, let's see, we've got, you don't have to have a reason. Mailing applications. Most states do not mail applications to register to vote. If you look at that, just go down the list where it says no. Illinois does. Indiana doesn't. And then when they get their ballots or whatever, they are counted up on receipt for the state of Indiana on election day. Initial signature. Yeah. Let's see. We've got Texas on here. Yeah. We've got Texas. We've got Texas. let's see what Texas says. Okay, I know how to.
There's no's all the way across, but they do count it upon receipt.
Yeah, which makes more sense to me, especially right now. Especially right now. Because it doesn't leave room for error.
Mm-mm.
It's like, okay, you get it today.
And
I'm going to tell you, if you are a person that mails your ballot in, make sure you send it certified mail receipt if you are able. Now, there are some states, like the state of Indiana, that does not have someone on hand to sign for it. Well, they might now that we're voting. But
you forget I work for them people.
Yeah, but for like some states, like in Mississippi, if you send it in, you can send it in certified mail, for a signature, and that way you
know that you know that it was
received, and
okay.
you know who it was received
by.
Yeah. Just for your own peace of mind.
Absolutely.
But that takes us, and some states are actually said expanding eligibility, and it refers to the states that normally require an excuse to vote by absentee, but have expanded eligibility in 2020 temporarily. States tagged not applicable did not require an excuse prior to COVID-19. And it says the other part is it refers to states that are mailing applications for absentee mail ballots to voters proactively. And there are some states that actually mail ballots to all eligible voters. No request needed. So if
that's what they did for our what is it called? The primary that we went through in May. They mailed them out to everybody. It's just everybody, because we don't want none of y'all coming in here. We ain't trying to have nobody sneezing on nobody, talking to nobody. Don't breathe on nobody. Here. So they mailed them to everybody. Well, in Indiana anyway, they mailed them to everybody, because I remember I got mine and baby girl got ours, and I'm like, I didn't request this. It was great because, we were all at that time going, we ain't going. Oh, so let me rephrase this. The primary was in May, but the ballots and stuff came out during April. And it was a big rush because ordinarily you would have had those things like 2 months ahead of time. But 2 months ahead of time, we were all reeling, trying to figure out, how we were supposed to maneuver and just work from, day to day. Because 2 months ahead of time, we were being sent home.
Yeah.
Sent to work from home.
Mm-hmm. Now, you ready to talk about Virginia?
Listen.
Are you ready to talk about Virginia?
I'm just going to read y'all what I sent to my sister. And when I tell you, I literally sent it to her and then put the phone down. I heard when she received it, when she saw it, but I was not watching her response because I said we were going to talk about this on the show today. But I heard for across the hall, I heard when she saw this. So breaking news, and accidentally cut cable has caused the entire Virginia voter registration online system to go down.
Accidental,
on the last day to register to vote before Election Day. An accidentally cut cable caused the entire Virginia voter registration online system to go down on the last day to register to vote before Election Day. Can I also state that Virginia is, to my remembrance, not a red state. It is a blue state.
Uh-huh.
Are we surprised?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Not a red state.
But you know,
Oh, Deidre, I read that foolishness too.
But you want to know what is also not being, and I read it in the comments, and I had to go back through all of those comments to try to find it. Fortunately, somebody else posted it. This happened. This happened back in the 2016 election as well. Kawinky Dink
accidentally cuts cable.
I think not.
That took down the entire voter registration system.
And the last thing happened back
the last day to register to vote in the state of Virginia.
How coincidental. How coincidental. I'm just saying.
Y'all know I don't believe in coincidences.
Anybody
who knows me knows I don't believe in coincidences.
I'm just saying.
Oh, and another one. Did you want to talk about California?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I read this one. So I don't do politics. Okay, so let me preface this. Those of you who know us and who know us regularly, I do politics about as much as I do religion. Like I don't do either one. But every now and then I have to be like, did you see this foolishness? So California authorities send cease and desist to the state GOP over unofficial ballot boxes. The California Secretary of State and Department of Justice have sent a cease and desist order to the California Republican Party to remove unofficial ballot drop boxes placed in at least 3 counties, officials announced in a news conference on Monday. These unauthorized drop boxes are a disservice to state and local election administrators who have spent months working on the placement and deployment of official ballot drop boxes. The images of the unofficial boxes show that some have been labeled official. Padilla explains, adding that his office received reports of the unofficial boxes being deployed by the state Republican Party in Fresno, LA, and Orange counties. California state law does not allow for the use of unauthorized vote-by-mail ballot drop boxes. Only county election officials have the authority to oversee drop boxes and ensure they're in compliance with the law. So how much you want to bet those areas where those unofficial drop boxes were predominantly minority areas?
So they could accidentally on purpose not be counted?
Well, they just said if it's in one of these unofficial boxes, it don't count.
I said accidentally on purpose.
Politics. I don't do
all
politics.
Day long. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm sure that if you are watching us on Facebook, you also you've been inundated with all of the different messages when you first initially come on Facebook about voting and things of that nature. And those tend to be geared toward your specific state, your specific area. So I would suggest for those of you who are on Facebook, click on it because it gives you a breakdown of voting by mail. The rules and regs, the requirements. The early voting, which this hit on, where it's talking about the different locations, you'll put in your address or what have you. Okay. Now, for most states, to my knowledge, all of the cutoffs to actually register have basically already passed.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. But just double check because if for whatever reason your state got an extension or they're doing whatever a little bit different than because of the pandemic, then that would be fortunate. double check with your loved ones who are overseas in the military. Because a lot of individuals actually got stuck overseas.
Right. Because
of jobs or what have you, because he was over there an additional 9 months. Because, with him at the time being a contractor for the government, when they shut down travel, that included everyone. But he was contracted
six
with
months.
Huh?
He was supposed to have been there for 3 months, and he had stuck for another 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, he was there for 9 months instead of 3 months. So, it's a situation where, see, he was, he was contracted with the government, with the military. So if they couldn't come back, those who are civilians weren't able to come back. So if you have somebody that's still stuck over there, check with them. Find out what they need to do to make their voice be heard. Now, for those of you that may be retired or that just may want to get out of the house for a minute, you might want to check into being a poll watcher. I used to do that with my mom. It was, you're not really doing anything. You're basically just sitting there making sure people aren't being shady, for the most part.
And I probably I think in ordinary times, I might have, I've actually done it, because now that I think about it, I've actually done it. So, and I think in other times, I would, especially, with everything going on in the world, I would definitely do that. However, because of my parents, age and health and things of that nature, and because I am now having to be so very, very, very selective about, and I normally do it on the cool, but when people come to the house, I lost all the hell out of the house. Now, I normally do it on the cool, and normally nobody catches me, but the last visitor to the house, other people happen to be up and moving around, and they caught me, and my Lysol doesn't smell like disinfected, so you don't really know that that's what I was raised to say. People, oh, it smells good, you're just spraying the house. Yeah, no, I don't Lysol everything. I don't. When this one got sick, no, I was sick, but when you got sick, so yeah, no, so I can't do it right now. Ordinarily I would, but they'd be like, why is that lady sitting there in a hazmat suit?
And while she's sitting up there, it's every time somebody comes within 6 feet, why is she spraying Lysol? It's like,
she done gone through 3 cans of Lysol and it's only been here for an hour.
Right. This is one of the best smelling polling locations we've ever been in.
Absolutely. Doggone it. Absolutely. Yeah. Have sage burning in the corner, because burning sage actually kills a bacteria, and bad spirits. But it kills the bacteria in the air.
So you mean those? Shut up, D. Yeah.
So we're gonna burn some sage over in the corner, kill all the bacteria,
so it won't make it
in the air
into the facility. If it's killing it off, or what have you? Okay.
And then I'm gonna spray Lysol. So that they just wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, I have to burn sage and spray Lysol, and they'd be like, no, in my hazmat suit. So they wouldn't let me do it.
Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm saying this, and I know we're kind of, being kind of jovial and what have you with the dialogue, but I want people to seriously think about voting in person versus vote, as far as early voting versus waiting until the day of. Yeah. Yesterday was the first day of voting in the state of Georgia.
Okay.
I had friends that stayed in line for 6 hours. They stood in line for 6 hours to vote.
Wow.
So people that normally, and see, they vote anyway, but people that probably would not ordinarily vote, because of a lot of the things because of the political climate of today, a lot more people are actually being intentional
about hitting those polls
and going out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So seriously, people, think about what's best for you and your household. I don't care if you mail in the ballot, because even if you get a mail-in ballot, you can still drop them off. You can drop off a ballot that you have mailed to you. So if you want to do that, that way you don't have to stand in line to get your ballot, you can do that. That's one option.
Now, I will say, just
Go
while you
ahead.
give your options in the state of Indiana, well, and let me phrase that, within Marion County, the 5 places that I listed as far as where you can go to do your early voting, they are not accepting hand filled in ballots. So you have to actually take it out on East Washington Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you do have to drive all the way out there. You can't mail it. You have to take it all the way out there to East Washington. So just for those who are in Indianapolis, please be aware. You got to take it out there to East Washington. Did I say West? Did I say West?
No, you said
okay.
East.
East Washington Street. You cannot take it down to the city county building, and you cannot take it to those 5 locations that I mentioned. You must take it out to East Washington.
Which brings up a valid point. For you in your area, you need to find out where that drop-off point is to actually drop off your ballot.
Yes.
Because see, even then they still validate you. So you still, if you have to have your identification to vote, 9 times out of 10, you have to still have your ID available when you turn in
that ballot.
Your ballot.
Yep.
So go prepared as if you had stood in line for that 6. I'm just saying for 6 hours, like, that one particular family I know that did. 2, if you are mailing it, and we kind of hit this earlier, if you do get the mail-in ballot and you mail it, send it certified. You may, however it works out, but at least you have proof that you dropped it in the mail. You have proof. So if it does not make it, that's not on you. You did what you were supposed to do. 3, if you are an early voter and you do not have patience, you may want to get there early before the polls actually open, so you can be one of the first few in line, so you can go in, handle your business, and keep it moving and go ahead about your day.
Yeah.
And then for those of you that are, y'all, more power to you. Those of you that decide to wait till election day, take a chair. Heck, take a chair if you're not going to be there super early for the early in-person voting. Take like one of the stadium chairs, not stadium chairs. Yeah, stadium chairs.
Captain's chairs,
Yeah, the captain's chairs. And just as the line slowly moves along, your chair can move along with you, especially if you have an elderly loved one, or if you have if they have like the walkers with the seat
in it, yeah.
Those would be perfect to take with them.
I was sitting up early. I was listening to what you were saying. The princess, this is going to be the first time she actually gets to vote. So of course, we're going to go and do it in person, and we're going to go together. And so, but when you were talking about those lines, I'm like, But then when you talk about the chair, and I'm like, that's why my chair stays in my truck, slinging over my shoulder in a heartbeat. Right. Like, okay, so this is what we're going to go do.
Right. But see, like for people that have elderly parents,
yeah,
or individuals that may have disabilities, Walmart, Target, a lot of these places sell those walkers with the actual seat.
Yeah, and
they're very economical.
Right. And the camp chairs right now are there, everybody, because it's, this is technically camping season, but it's also coming to the end of camping season, because at least up here, we're about to hit winter, and look, by Halloween, we're gonna have on boots. So, so this is like closing out our camping season up here. So they're trying to get rid of all of that stuff. So those are, those chairs, those captain's chairs, those
maybe
director's chairs. Yeah, you should be able to get a good price on those right now.
So those are just some suggestions that, kind of crossed my mind when, I was thinking about when I saw the post about them standing in line yesterday for 6 hours, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, that they had the heart to do that.
But see, just think about the people that got in line after they did.
Yeah. Well, and again, part of it is, they're doing all of this, and they're doing it on such a mass scale. Yes, we have the pandemic going on, but at the same time, we're also, living, like I said, in perilous times. And, not just unprecedented, because people have lived through pandemics before, but unprecedented but perilous times. And I say that because, again, the climate of our political system right now, and just the climate in America, period, as far as the racisms and people's rights and what we're voting, those that we're voting on right now. When I say it truly impacts everything. Whether these are things that you believe in or not, but I mean, whether you're talking about a woman's right to choose what to do with her body, they're just like, I don't know, that doesn't need to be an option that they have. We should be able to control that. They want to talk about that just some people talk about Columbus Day and Indigenous People Day. Well, we've been kind of moving towards the Indigenous People Day because we have so many folks who were affected by that, and and they were here, and they're trying to do away with that. They're trying to to impose stricter sanctions on our brown, our other people of color, because there's when I say brown, we're talking Indians and Hispanics and Native Americans, the whole gamut. So they're trying to impose stricter sanctions on people coming into the country, people who are already here from the country, people whose people founded the doggone country to begin with, because they were already here, and they're really trying to impose stricter sanctions on that. But then again, on top of it, when you have the people that look like us, the people who look like us, throughout this last 4 years, it has become increasingly dangerous for us. I mean, it was already, it's a whole experience. It's a very exciting experience to be a person of color in America. And it has gotten a tad bit spicier because I'm being polite.
Because of social media and because of the cameras and because of all of that, it's more visual to our white counterparts.
It's not, I was about to say, it's not that it's become more spicy because of social media. It has become more visual, there's more awareness of it because of social media. However, the uptick in those types of actions and those types of policies, because our current administration has said, hey, I'm okay with this.
Look, it was okay until the inciting words were directed toward a white woman in political office. But I digress.
Yeah, you digress.
I digress.
But I mean, even with that, I mean, it's cool that they were just like, oh, okay, well, we're going to, we caught this, we stopped this and then the other, we headed this off, we caught this, and we just have to be more careful about our words. There are things in life that you can never take back.
Or the opportunities in life you can never take back, because I don't give a happy ham sandwich about what Trump may say or do. He can never undo not denouncing racism.
And that's what I said. So there are things that once they're done, they cannot be undone. And it's, the rock, once it's been thrown, in the words once they've left the tongue. So his words, or lack of words,
stand back
and stand by. Because when I tell you, when they said stand back and stand by, I heard in my mind, just, of my empathic nature, but just in my mind, I heard guns being loaded. I heard rope being, pulled and knotted and looped. And, and I heard the traditional, and all of that. All of that played in my brain. I heard the big trucks, the engines revving up and the four-wheelers. Now I enjoy four-wheeling. That's not a redneck thing. I love four-wheelers. I'm just saying. But, so I heard all of that. As soon as that phrase was uttered, I heard all of this in my mind. And I'm just like, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of incidents that, some of them have been kept real quiet. And, and some of them have just, we just going to mention it in passing, mention it real light and keep it moving. Because, we're going to focus on the fact that the idiot carrot has COVID, and we're going to focus on, the fact that this is happening and this is going on in DC and this is going on in DC, but we're not talking about the lynchings. We're not talking about the 3 teenagers that were found down south hanging from a tree, 3 teenagers of colors. We're not going to talk about the young man who was found. They drug him. They attached him to vehicles and drug him. It was a Black young man. So all of these stories that we're unfortunately, I don't want to say used to, but we have in a way become used to hearing them. But all of those, even the ones that we're used to hearing, we're not hearing right now because they're downplaying them, because they're trying to cover up. They've got so much other stuff going on to distract us that we're not paying attention to the uptick
in violence,
in racial violence,
mm-hmm.
in hate violence,
mm-hmm.
that has gone on since he's been in office is one thing, but especially since Stand Back and Stand By.
Mm-hmm.
No one really wants to talk about that because, again, we're going to give you this whole dog and pony show. All this stuff is going on over here because we need to distract you from the stuff that's going on.
Until it affected a white woman in office. And then all of a sudden his words mattered. But I digress. Now I want to hit back, kind of hit on part of what has been a part of the back and forth between the different parties, not just Dems and Republicans, but some of the others have had some input where they're talking about voter fraud. Now, I'm going to just say it outright. Florida has been the epicenter of voter fraud in this country.
Time. Always.
But I'm going to...
Can we say Jeb Bush?
Yeah, but I'm going to say, even with that being the case, the propaganda and the paranoia that has come to the forefront as a result of, once again, the words of the idiot carrot has really put a dark light on our United States Postal Service, who has in the past miraculously and wonderfully handled getting votes to where they needed to be in order to be counted. Mm-hmm. It's a miracle that all of a sudden this year that has become a major issue. Mm-hmm. We don't have the hanging chads issue anymore from Florida. Now, but it's like they are trying to distract.
Yeah.
So when I say to you all, find the best method for you to vote to make it happen for yourselves. Please, 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 please get your vote in. Now, I'm not voting for the idiot carrot. I'm not hiding that fact. That's just me saying it straight up, straight out. in case you're wondering, it ain't finna happen. And I went to Ebonics on purpose. But for those of you who tend to want a more intellectual response, Demetria is not voting for the sitting president of these United States of America. Now
I ain't either.
Now you need to, before you go, find out if you have elderly or disabled neighbors, relatives, friends, or just individuals who may not have a working vehicle that may be able to ride to the polls with you. This is one opportunity for you to give back to your community. Because while there are social organizations that will probably be providing transportation, there'll probably be transportation companies, because I know each year that there are elections, and not just for the presidential election, but anytime there are elections, there are transportation companies, there are organizations, sometimes city transportation, that tends to contribute to making sure people get to their polling places, with no charge. So for those of you in your city, for those of you who may have, elderly or disabled loved ones, find out for them, what organizations or what churches or what transportation companies, are providing transportation to and from the polls, so that they can make their voice be heard. And also for those that may be registered, check your elderly loved ones or your disabled loved ones' IDs, because sometimes IDs expire.
Boy.
And they may not be aware of it. Now, I know for Indiana, you get a little window, as far as the expiration date. It's not much of a window, but you get a piece of a window. But there are some states that are adamant that the identification has to be valid on the day that you vote.
Something else to check, because I ran into this issue with the princess, is check the names.
Yes.
Because if your name does not match 100%, then they'll be like, okay, you're not the same person. Everything else can match, but they'll be like, you're not the same person. So with the princess, her middle initial is a J, and I didn't pay any attention that someone had taken that J, and I can't even remember. I think it was a T or something. And I'm like, okay, her birth certificate, her, everything says her middle initial is a J, or it has her middle name spelled out. Where did this T come from? But because she had that T in there, I think when she went to go get her first ID, it had a T on it. And so then, I forgot what we were trying to use it for, but they really gave her pushback on it. And I was just like, oh, no. Because when it comes time for her to vote, it's gonna say her middle name, and it's gonna start with the J. So, when she went and she got her permit and, her new ID or whatever, I told her, look, you take everything with you. She had so much documentation of her actual name.
Right.
That, so it's on her new card that she's got. It's correct. But the one that she had previous to it, it's at T.
Now, it's funny that you bring that up, because for me, coming from another state, I had to go through all the different things to get my Indiana license.
Yeah.
But because I have not changed my social security card, even though I have my marriage license, even though I do a lot of business under triplet because that is my legal last name, on my driver's license, on my social security card, it's still brand. So what I did, even though the lady at the DMV was like, well, we can go ahead and put your married name. And I told her, I was like, yeah, but when it comes time to vote, I need for everything to match. So I ended up getting my maiden name on my new license. And I told my husband, I said, after the election, I said, I love you. Been with you for 11 years. We're almost married 11 years. So I love you. But I'm not going to be triplet on my license until after this election. And he laughed, but he was like, I understand.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we need for everything to match.
Absolutely. And like I said, that was one of those things. And that's what made me, because when the error was caught, because I mean, we've looked at her ID 1,001 times and just never really paid it any attention, even though, well, her dad created her name, so because he can't spell. But anyway, so because it wasn't precise, and my mother is a political junkie. Okay, when I tell you,
they don't get it.
Politics is on in that house 24/7. I don't care if it's election time or not. I don't care. There could be 4 days of complete silence coming out of DC. That she's gonna have them daggone the daggone government channels and political channels and political commentators and all of that. I mean, she can tell me some of these people's birth dates. Okay, just she follows them on Twitter. She has conversations with these people on Twitter because I mean she's just that vocal and that much of a when I say a junkie, y'all, a junkie. So because of that, it was my mother who actually brought it to our attention. Make sure. And because my middle name gets spelled a little interestingly sometimes, she said, make sure everything across the board matches. And I was like, Mama, I don't put my middle name on anything. There's an S and that's it. You know, my middle name is not, you know, I don't put my, she said, but it's on your social security card. And so therefore, it's on your voter registration. Make sure the spellings match. They didn't, so we had to go and get that fixed. But I mean, make sure everything matches. Right. That's my point.
And
what's up?
Need to make sure that in your state, in your city, in your county, in your parish, if you are in Louisiana, if you're your township here in Indiana.
Yeah. All the way down to your township.
Make sure that if you are voting by absentee ballot, you need to find out the last day to submit that ballot.
Yes.
Because while some states will let you have up until election day, not all states, because here in the state of Indiana, you have until the 22nd of October, which is what, Friday? Not this Friday, but next Friday. Next Thursday. Yeah. Okay, yeah, next Thursday.
Yeah, because she gets her teeth on Tuesday.
So up until next Thursday, here in the state of Indiana, you have until then to get your ballot actually turned back in, or it will not count. So those are really the biggest things that I wanted to make sure that when Kee and I were talking, you know, do you know when it begins for you? Do you know when it ends? Do you know where to vote? Do you know of any of the regulation changes? The early voting versus in-person voting versus absentee voting, really, really taking the time to think about which one is best for you. The the transportation, and, finding the available transportation. If you are available to provide that blessing for someone, let it be known. Because a lot of times people are, well, if I had just known, well, put it out there and people will definitely reach out to you.
Yes.
They will reach out. Now I'm going, as we get ready to wrap it up, can you believe we're actually going to probably get to wrap it up on time today? We want to hit on the show for Friday.
Ooh.
Yeah. That is going to be a humdinger. That is going to be the beginning of the Black Educators Matter segment for this thing called life. There are so many things that need to be discussed that cannot be discussed in a 2-hour window. That will be
an hour window. It'd be a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's a series.
Yeah, because, but if you think about all of the different stuff that needs to be, because all the different layers and all the different things that we've discussed as of right now.
Right. And when I tell y'all, this is one of those, the people who are going to be on there with us are phenomenal people in their respective fields, and phenomenal in the way that they do the educating, because one is a non-traditional two are non-traditional educators, but just some of the topics and some of the material, and just
the topic for this particular one is going to be the weaponization of whiteness in the education system. The weaponization of whiteness in the education system, and how it has affected everything. I mean, everything from desegregation up until even now.
Right.
And our guests are going to be, well, to start off the segment, we're going to have a local business owner, Nicole Anderson, who is an educator on the university level, but she also, and you'll get the opportunity to meet her and she'll introduce herself more as far as getting into the breakdown of the diversity and the things that she deals with on the university level.
Right.
But we have her. She's also an entrepreneur here locally. We have, many of you are familiar with Alvin Carter. Alvin, Keep It Real Carter. He is an educator while he could teach on multiple levels. Right now, he is an elementary school educator.
That is just so special to me.
Yeah, especially with him and his personality. And,
that is just so special to me.
And the wild part is those kids love him.
I bet.
Like nobody's business. But he's also a talk show host in his own right. He has his own show, Keep It Real Carter. The Kirk Show. KIRC show. And then to help facilitate the dialogue, we have our in-house resident racial equity professional, Papa consultant, author of I Am That One Black Friend, Cassandra A. Porter. I know you all are like,
what are people?
Look, she's there as much as can be, but you all don't understand the levels that this woman brings to the table.
Yeah.
From, everything from being an attorney to teaching racial equity on a large scale. That is, her business on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Favorite part of my day.
Two
her
businesses.
and her part. Yeah, that is, her, and then she has, the individuals that work with her in the trainings of different police, officers, corporations, you name it. So she's going to be a phenomenal asset.
Yes.
To facilitate that dialogue, because she's also now a teacher's assistant to a first grade teacher, her mom. So she's bringing yet another dynamic, and then she's the mother of two that are,
one's in high school, one's in middle school.
Right.
The divas, the Porter divas. Yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be, just the topic. That's just, it tells you just how intense it's going to be. So we look forward to having everybody join us, because it is going to be a super hot topic. And is there anything else you can think of, Sissy? Well, we thank you all for joining us on today and today's show of this thing called Life. Take care and be blessed. Bye.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called
life.